Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Bleav in Lions. That's Bleav, right here on the Bleav Network. I'm your host, as always, at Javanaugh87, Jack Kavanaugh, joined, as always, by the all-world safety, the Detroit Lions superstar, the rising star of the framing world. It's Glover Quinn.
Rising star. I like that one. You get better every single time, dude.
I try. I mean, it's easy to find good things to say about you. Just got to mix it up because otherwise I'm saying the same stuff all the time. But no, you deserve that grandiose entrance every single time.
Well, I definitely appreciate it.
How's everything with you? How are you enjoying the offseason? Because I know you are still in that player offseason, right? Or that player schedule where when the Super Bowl ends, it's you got some time before you're back to working out, but back to OTAs and all of that. It's the downtime right now.
No question, man. That's how my body clock is. My body is wired that way. It's like when the Super Bowl was over, it was like off season. Like, we made it. So yes, I've definitely enjoyed it. You know, and I always kind of just stay away from it, man. Like I it's too much going on every day for me to just indulge myself in it every single day, man. So I feel bad for like some of the media guys, but then at the end of the day, the media people love it. Like they love the stuff because it's stuff to talk about. It's the content. It's it's what keeps people going, right? Like so you guys love it. Me on the other hand, it's like I need a break from this trash, man. It's just too much going on, too much talking. People don't know what they're talking about. Stories being put out to create marriages. Anytime it's getting ready to start a new league year or pay people, now they're digging up this and it's draft and they're digging up that. And it's just like, man, I don't want to. So I be needing a break from it. So that's what I do, man. I take a break from it and then I have to recharge and, you know, jump back in.
I
So it's been
completely
good so far.
I completely get it. Just because there's so much BS out there, just so many people talking just to hear themselves talk. And I do find it fun being able to go through the story and put my analytical cap on and be like, well, that's not true because if that were true, then this would have to be true. And that's not
Right.
true. So it's you pull that little thread and it all unravels. And it drives me crazy at times because a lot of the times these players, these people, these coaches, they don't deserve what's being thrown at them. But I just wait for that to be done and enjoy the hype too. Because as much as there's all the negative going on right now, there is a lot of hype, a lot of people showing out at the combine. Everyone's excited to see the athleticism. So there's the ups and there's the downs, but I prefer the good in the world, the fun of it, rather than the oh well, this guy doesn't deserve this because he doesn't deserve it. Well, okay, fine, whatever. That's not really a conversation.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I it's so crazy because I didn't watch a single day of the combine. And it's like, wow. And it's not because I'm not interested. It's just you start to realize that what these guys do at the combine, what they go through at the combine, what they put us through at the combine is it's cool, but is not a determining factor of a career.
No.
And so for me, it's like I don't learn anything new from the combine. I may notice a different player, but I don't have to watch the combine to notice him because if I notice him, the world probably notice him. So you can just get on social media and see, oh, this kid right here killed it at the combine. I don't really put a lot of stock in, the people that can dance and move. And when I say dance, I'm meaning like good footwork and this and this and that. Like the coaches say, and I believe it with all my heart, the film tells me everything I need to know. Just because you can go to a combine and look sweet in drills and this and this and this don't mean you can play. And so for a while, I used to watch every second of it because I wanted to know what receivers were coming into the league and what quarterbacks and what running backs and what do these guys look like. And then as I got older, it was like, man, I'm not even worried about these guys because they don't know how to play. They talented, but they don't know how to play. And then once we would draft somebody or sign somebody, then I may go and look at their combine just to see like what they look like at the combine, just to have stuff to talk about or, saying stuff like that. But I didn't look at one single bit of it, man. And so, a lot of the storylines and things that you're seeing, they're bringing up stuff about the guy from Georgia and, these quarterbacks look like they showed out pretty, the ones that competed, they looked good. And I like that. I like what I saw Will Levis say when he was like, I want to show off my cannon. Like I've always liked that. And that's one of the things I loved about. I did a podcast a couple years ago when I was doing my DB room stuff, and I had Calvin on there, and we talked about the infamous, grabbing the shoes and running the 40, and it's like, man, you're the best player in the world. Are you supposed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the world? Go out and show everybody that this is why I'm ranked in the top 5. Don't just sit on it and be like, oh, no, man. Go out and show the world. No, this is why. So to hear Will Levis say, no, I'm going to throw. Why? Because I want to show that I got a cannon, and I want to show you that I got it. Like, I like that. So I saw, CJ Stroud went out and competed. I saw that. And those guys, the combine's not going to hurt you, man. Like, they know you're throwing to different wide receivers, and like they're not going to sit there and say, oh, this kid can't, he's not very accurate. He couldn't. They got film for that. You see what I'm saying? Like, so this is just fun, man. And, you can see a lot from a player, from a quarterback perspective, as their personality. Do they have the personality to be a leader in your team? Can they take these group of wide receivers and get them fired up, get them ready to go and show that leadership ability? Can they do that at the combine? That's the stuff that these scouts and stuff be looking at. Like, hey, man, this kid right here, he has something different. Yeah, I know he's throwing and running now, but he has something different that I could feel being down there on the field with him. So I have nothing against those guys competing. I actually love to see it. I just didn't watch it this year. I'm sorry.
I don't think you need to apologize. I completely get it. And for me, the reason I love the combine, it's not because I'm learning new things. It's because for me, it's a celebration of athleticism. It is a celebration of amazing people doing amazing, just out of this world, freaky things. Like when Will Levis throws 60 plus yards in the air, 70 yards in the air, like, that's just fun. It doesn't change what he's going to be in the NFL, but it's just fun. It's fun to celebrate these guys. The highlights are fun. And that's what I like about it. But like you said, you're learning less from the drills and the running and the jumping and the athleticism than you are from actually being around these people and seeing what they're like. And that's something Aaron Glenn talked about. And he mirrored a lot of things that you've said about cornerback in the past. The first thing he looks for in a cornerback, personality. Number one, how do they come in? How confident are they? How do they go about operating with the installs? You can just tell right away who gets it just by the way they operate. That's something Aaron Glenn looks for at cornerback. You need that aura. And that's something you've talked about time and time again, that you've got to have that dog in you. You've got to believe that you are the best. And so that you're not getting that from the drills, but you're getting that from the one-on-one interaction, right?
No question. Definitely getting it from the interviews. And like I say, just being around, you can see, you can see how guys are. And, a lot of times you see those guys in their individual guys because you see them at their school or this and that. So when you get them around all the other guys, now they're around 50 of the top DBs, then you can see out of those 50, these guys really stand out personality-wise. These guys, they could play, but personality-wise, IQ-wise, but these guys over here, like you can see it so clearly. So, that's what the combine is used for, from in my, opinion, but then every now and then, you get that guy that may open up an eye. But at the end of the day, you got invited to the combine. So you were already like on the radar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have bumped yourself up from, you know, a 4th round to a late 3rd, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not many people going from a 4th round projection to a high 2nd round draft pick just because they performed well at the combine. Like, they already knew who you were, you got invited. You know what I'm saying? The thing that helped me is, I got invited to the combine, and the biggest question about me and everything around me was, can he run? You could look at the film and tell I could play. But as a corner, they wanted to know, how fast are you? Like, can you run? Because the numbers didn't say a certain thing, but when you looked on the film, I wasn't getting ran by. You know what I'm saying? So now they want to know, well, how fast are you? Like, can you run? Like, what? So that was the biggest question I kept getting over and over in all my interviews. What are you gonna run? What are you gonna run? What are you gonna run? And I was always like, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know what I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run fast enough. That's what I'm gonna run fast enough. And so that was the biggest question surrounding me. And so when I went to the combine and I ran, I remember after my first run, I was coming back, and you know how they have the coaches and stuff in the middle of the field. A guy from Baltimore came up to me and he was like, "Man, you help yourself out a lot." And I was like, "What you mean?" Because they don't tell you, they don't show your times and stuff, which I think that would be a cool thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got all those big jumbotrons up in East, like in where they have it in Indy. Like, when a guy run, when they put that unofficial time up on the TV, put it up on the big screen. Let everybody see, oh, dog, he just ran a 4.32. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fire everybody up, man. Put that thing up on the screen. But he came to me, he was like, I don't know what they got you at. He said, but I got you at a 4.46. I was like, whoa, really? You kidding? He was like, nah, I got you at a 4.46. I was like, bet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was pumped after that. Then went and ran another one. I think, my times were like 4.49, 4.52 or something like that. And, they got me in as a 4.50 official or something like that, or somewhere in that range. So I was like, sure, I'm happy with that. I was like 205 at the come on. I was like, I'm happy with that.
No complaints there, none
None.
whatsoever, and helped your stock. And it seems like you also got some sense of other teams at the combine. I know the teams are all trying to get a sense of you and every other player, but I know it sounds as though you had this conversation with the Baltimore Ravens guy. We all know about your meeting with Lovie Smith and how weird that was. So it feels as though while it's a job interview for you, you're kind of interviewing these teams as well and just doing a vibe check. Am I right in that assessment?
Yeah, for the most part, you're just kind of getting the feel for it, and you can kind of tell, who seems like they like you, and that's what's funny. Like, I didn't hear much from the Texans. They drafted me. I didn't hear. I didn't have an official meeting with the Texans at the combine, and I had the normal, unofficial meetings that they had with everybody. But the cool thing is, the DB coach that was running that was at some of the unofficial meetings, he's actually from the same place I'm from. So he's from uh, like Magnolia. I was from Summit, which is 15 minutes. He went to, we were all from Pike County in Mississippi. So he went to a school called South Pike. I went to a school called North Pike. So I was on the north side, he was on the south side. So he knew of me from, just being from the same area. So he used to, we talked at the combine, but I didn't have an official visit with them at the combine. I didn't take a pre-draft visit to Houston. I didn't talk to anybody other than the assistant DB coach the whole, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was never anything other than just checking in to see if I was working out, seeing if I was still healthy. That's all it was. It was never, I had no inkling that I would be going to the Houston Texans. None. At first, I thought it was Chicago until I left that meeting, and it was like, I ain't get a good vibe from Chicago. I hope I don't go to Chicago. So then I was thinking Tampa. I heard a lot from like Cleveland, Carolina. I took a visit to Atlanta. I worked out for the Patriots. But that was about it. I didn't have a ton, or I didn't hear a ton. I didn't, like I said, I had one visit, went to Atlanta, and I had one workout, New England. That was it. I had no idea the Texans would draft me in the 4th round, but they did.
But they did, and they made the right decision at that. Probably helps having someone in the not the locker room, but in the coaching room, in the meetings that maybe even if he doesn't know you, knows who you are, and being from the same county, he can figure out what kind of person you are. He knows people that know you, and so you get those background stories. Yeah, Glover, stand-up guy. He is a good guy. He is a hard worker. He is what we need, and he doesn't even have to show that. And I'm kind of wondering, with all these relationships around the NFL and with the combine and all the rookies and stuff, do teams actually think about that? Because we have Kirby Joseph, right, with the Detroit Lions. His former partner in the secondary at safety, Sidney Brown, just absolutely dominated the combine, which, again, it's the combine. He showed out athletically, but he was great at Illinois. They were absolute studs back there. Sidney Brown even taught Kirby Joseph to figure skate. So would that be something that the Lions are thinking of? Same with Panay Sewell and his brother Noah being in the draft? Or is that just, it'd be nice, but we're not going to go out of our way for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're interested, and it depends on the relationship they have with those other guys. But if they're interested in something like that, then yeah, I could definitely see, um, you know, you could see on one hand where they would possibly, want to know or ask questions. And they probably ask questions because they like we're seeing this stuff right now. Like they probably ask questions informally throughout the season. Those guys never even really thought about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, for you to be at the combine, like you've been a good player. So if the Texans, or not Texans, if the Lions were interested in that safety, they probably just out there in warm-ups one day, just shooting the breeze, and the DB coach might say, "Hey man, what's up with y'all safety? Yada yada yada." You know what I'm saying? Like just shooting the breeze, and you start just talking about him, and then he got that information where he can say this and that. During this process, they probably not calling you like, "Hey man, give us a scoop on this guy." You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you guys are friends, so then you might call him like, "Hey dog, so the Lions just called me about you, like they wanted this or that." So they may not get all into that stuff, but I think connections and relationships definitely help. You know what I'm saying? If you get one person, um, their brother could possibly be of the same bloodline. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a hard worker, big time good guy. I'm sure his brother isn't far from it. They're probably not the exact same, but we're probably going to get some of the same attributes. So we respect him. I mean, it's worked for me, or I ain't gonna say worked for me, but I played at the University of New Mexico, and I had a pretty good college career, and I went on to play and this and that. And then my nephew ended up signing with the University of New Mexico this past year, and one of the things the coaches said was, we need some more Quinn blood out here, and that was my nephew. So, it's not my son, it's my sister's, son, but it's in his blood. It's in his, what I'm saying? And so if he grew up and was raised just like you, and, he's going to be a hard worker, he's going to be appreciative, he's going to, what I'm saying, do all those different things. He may not play like you, or he may play better, but we'll take that chance because of you and what we know he could potentially be. And so those things help, those things work out, man. And it don't change in the league. You get relationships and stuff like that, and they play a role. And like I say, the coach in Houston, he didn't know me, but his parents know my parents. Like you say, people know people. You can ask around, and you start hearing, oh, yeah, he's a solid guy. Come from a solid family. I know the area that he's from. They hardworking country boys out there. Like he gonna be this. Like you know that stuff. And so if that's the type of player that you're looking for, having that inside information is pivotal.
In the relationships across the NFL, it just continues and builds and builds and builds. And that seems as though why the Detroit Lions might be becoming a bit of a destination, as Dan Campbell alluded to when he spoke last week, I believe it was. And then you hear Brad Holmes talking that there's mutual interest between Jamal Williams and the Detroit Lions. Jamal goes on TV and says, we're taking the North next year, which he would have to be part of that North to be with the Lions. So seems as though that's all coming back. And it's all just good to see. Just treat your people well, take care of them, and it carries forward, but it can also have the opposite effect. I don't know if you heard about the NFL surveys. They surveyed roughly 40 people per locker room and gave out report cards for everything. And the biggest takeaway that I found, and also what the biggest takeaway that Quandre Diggs seemed to find, was that the Jacksonville Jaguars at one point had a rat infestation in the locker room.
What?
Yeah, he was Jamal. So Quandre Diggs tweeted Jamal Agnew the other day, asked about it, and Agnew said, no, they were emotional support mice. But yeah, apparently this just went under the radar. There was a rat infestation in the Jags locker room, and that got them some negative marks.
They definitely gonna get some negative marks. That's awful. I don't know how that slid under the rug.
Right?
Jeez. It's awful.
You'd think that would leak to someone. Someone's telling their buddy, yeah, we got a rat problem here.
That's awful, especially nowadays with social media and videos everywhere. Like, I don't know how you keep that under the wraps.
It could have been smaller than the report let on, but still, it's just weird. And that's something that people need to remember is, hey, players talk. Players tell each other what it's like being here. I'm sure you were talking to your friends while you were with the Detroit Lions, like, hey, this is what the situation is like here. I'm happy here. I'm glad I signed here.
Mm-hmm. No question. You definitely talk, to the people close to you, but you're talking to the people close to you, so you feel like they're gonna keep it close to the vest. So, if there's a problem in Jacksonville, I'm sure the coaches know about it. So if they talked about it in the locker room or in meeting rooms, they probably mentioned how they didn't want it to get all out and they were getting it taken care of. So then if you do tell it to your homeboy, you're probably like, hey man, don't say nothing about this right here, but dog, we got a rat problem in our locker room. You know what I'm saying? So then your homeboy is not gonna go on social media, hey man, Jacksonville Jaguars got a rat problem. I just talked to my best friend. He said they're not gonna do that. Now, a fan may do it, but that's why you don't tell that stuff to fan. You tell it to like close people that you trust. But I'm sure they told somebody. There's lots of people that know that they had a rat infestation if they had one. Like, that's awful.
Like truly mind-blowing stuff, but a lot of the other stuff from this report was good. There was a couple like, for the most part, teams loved their strength and conditioning coaches across the league. There were a couple that got bad marks. Some of them are no longer in the league, but teams love their strength and conditioning coaches. They build those relationships. The Lions feel like their new ownership group, the fact that it changed hands, they're willing to spend money to make this team better, both not just on the football field, because that's money that they already have. They're willing to invest in the locker room, in the parking lot, in the infrastructure of the team to make them better. Is that something that players consider when they're signing in free agency? Like, hey, I'm hearing all this good stuff planned. I hear the Cincinnati Bengals are finally building an indoor practice facility.
I mean, I feel like that some of that stuff could go into play. I think at the end of the day, man, that stuff really only matters to the people that got leverage and power in free agency. At the end of the day, most guys just want to go where they got a good situation and they can get paid the most money. This really is what it is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have any other options, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have anything else really to consider, whether Cincinnati has a indoor or not, that's who want me and that's who gonna give me a bag. So I'm going to Cincinnati. Hopefully they get the stadium built or the indoor, but oh well. You know what I'm saying? When you get to those guys who are, very sought out, which, nowadays it's very hard to get to that point. Teams don't allow you to get to that point if you're that type of player for the most part. They extending you, they trading you. It's hard to find somebody that's like that sought out that's on the free agent market. Not saying that doesn't ever happen, but for the most part, a lot of those guys never really make it to free agency. And so at that point, and as a drafter, as a draftee, you don't have a say so anyway. So, I mean, they do all that stuff to make it better, but I don't feel like that stuff played. Like Detroit didn't have any of that stuff really like that. You know what I'm saying? When I signed out there, Detroit, the city has came so far since when I went out there in 2013, right? Like Detroit wasn't this whatever city back then. All I heard from, my standpoint was, the crime and the bankruptcy and, all these different things. But when you go in free agency, they want you. They're gonna none of their checks bounce. I don't know about the city bankruptcy, but the Lions weren't bankrupt. None of their checks bounce. So you go where you have to go. You know what I'm saying? Um, But it's good that some of these teams invest into their facilities and their infrastructure and all those different things. But I don't know if that has that much to do with free agency as opposed to like college recruiting.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And keep the guys in the building happy as well. Just you don't want you don't want the paint and the style to get out of date while the same guys being there, with Matthew Stafford being there for so long, you being there so many years. You don't want it to get out of date where, hey, we don't have hot water now because it's so old. Those types of things.
Right.
And
But I think, this is my biggest thing. And getting into this business world and really, dealing with people and stuff like that. This is what I think. You hear, and you said it earlier, right? The Lions, Jamal Williams, mutual interest. I've never understood why it's so hard to get a deal done.
yes,
I've never understood that. Because at the end of the day, we're both here and we're both trying to do what we know we have to do, right? So we can cut through a lot of the nonsense. This is who you are as a player. This is who you're comparable with. This is what we see you on our team. This is what we can pay you. If you feel like you can get more, then you got to go and get more. I just don't understand what's so hard about it and why we can always get a deal done at the last minute. We could have got that deal done a long time ago, man. And you see it a lot of times with guys that they really want to pay. Like Patrick Mahomes didn't wait till the last minute.
nope.
Like when they want to get a deal done, they just get the deal done because they know, oh, we got to pay him. We got to give him this much. Okay, let's just like you couldn't offer Patrick Mahomes anything less than the most money. So why even do that? Hey man, the top guy getting paid $45 million a year. You're Patrick Mahomes. We're coming in. We're offering you $50 million a year. So if you can agree to $50 million a year, now it's up to us to figure out the structure. Do we want to go 6 years and $300 million? Do we want to go 4 years, $200 million? You know what I'm saying? But we're still going to be at the 50-year mark. This is what it is. However we get there, you might want to go 10-year, 500. Okay, that's fit. But we already know we're going to be at 50. You can't come in at 45.5 mil. No, bro. No.
You can't lowball these guys. They know their
Right.
worth. Like you can go a little bit under what you're willing to pay. You go a little bit over, we go a little bit under. But it seems time after time, it's just disrespectful offers.
Right. And I don't like that part of it. I just don't I don't like that bothers me at times because for one, I feel like it's just so degrading to me. Like even with like the frames and stuff, right? Say for instance, I'm doing I do something and someone's like, all right, hey, we're willing to pay you, $200. And I'm just sitting there like, bro, that's not even worth my time. Well, we got some wiggle room. What do you mean? You just said you want to pay me $200. Like, if you could pay me $400, then say, "Oh no, no, our budget, we will spend no more than 480 to get this done." Okay. Now it's up to me to say, "Okay, can I get this for 480?" But the problem is it's a lack of trust in people because you telling me a low number, expecting me to tell you a high number, and then we hopefully meet somewhere in the middle. I'm telling you a high number, or you think I'm telling you a high number, because I know you're gonna come back with a low number, and maybe we can meet in the middle. So if I know, hey, I'm willing to, I want to sell this for 100, but I'm gonna tell him 200, so that when he talk me down to 150, he feel like he got a deal, but I still won because I only wanted to sell it for 100, and I sold it for 150. Like, that's whack to me. Like, hey man, this is what it costs. This is what it costs me. This is what it's gonna cost you. I ain't got time for the wiggle game going back and forth. This is what it costs me. So for me to sell it to you and make money, this is what it costs you. If you don't want to pay this, then it just ain't for you. And I just feel like it's like that when it comes to these contracts. Like, hey man, we ain't got to go back and forth with all the nonsense, man. This is what the number is. You either want to pay it or you don't. Period. I can't. Well, we could try to find some money. You knew you could find some money from the get-go. Don't try to devalue me and lower my standards and lower my value to your team, to your organization. Don't try to lower my value just so you can say, like, no, man. Because now we got a strain in the relationship. And just because you're talking to my agent don't mean you ain't talking to me, because my agent is me. So if you degraded me, then I would expect my agent to say, hey, man, this is what they're saying about you. This is why they don't want to pay you. Because if your agent's not telling you that, then who's he really working for? The team or me? Like, you need to be telling me what they saying. Like, just so crazy to me, man. So I don't know. I just get on a little kick about that stuff because it bothers me with all the, like, I just don't like it, man. Like, I don't have time for all that stuff, man. Like, this is what I'm willing to pay. If I can't get it for 500, then I just don't want it.
And no one does that to their mechanic or anything, right? Like, no one does that to their plumber where, oh, hey, you know what, you're charging this. What if we make it this instead? No, this is the price for my
Right.
services. This is just because I'm doing something creative with the framing doesn't mean it's not the price. Just because I'm doing something with my body because I'm an athlete doesn't mean this isn't the price.
Right. And it's so crazy to me. Just so crazy to me. It's hard for me to understand that. It's just hard for me to understand that. And at the end of the day, like you talked about with the plumber, and you talked about it with the mechanic and stuff like that. At the end of the day, you're gonna end up paying the same thing, if not more. Because I had a friend, my financial advisor. His name is Lamek Humble Lukanga. Very, 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 very smart man. Deals with a lot of high end athletes, entertainers, right? He grew up in Uganda. And when we were in college, he used to always say, like, his dad used to tell him that we were too poor, that they were too poor to buy cheap. And he never understood what that meant, right? What do you mean, Dad? If we're too poor, we probably want to buy cheap. And he was like, my dad would always say we're too poor to buy cheap. And what he meant was, I don't want to have to keep buying it over and over and over and over and over again. We're too poor for that. Like, I want to buy you something that's going to be nice. I want to buy something that's going to be good, something that's going to last a long time. It may cost a little more money, but I only got to buy it one time. And that's what happens, right? When you try to find that plumber that's cheap, you end up paying him. And then 2 weeks later, you got to call somebody else because he didn't get the job done right. Now you're paying more money when you should have just went with somebody credible that was gonna be honest and say, hey, this is what we got to do. This is what it costs me to get it done, and this is what it costs for me to, I need to make money too. Just is what it is, right? You get these people, oh, I could come by and do it for $65. Why are you telling me 65, but this other guy telling me 465? What are you not doing that he's doing, right? Or what is he doing that like something ain't right? How can you get it done for 65 and he telling me 365? And then at the end of the day, you go with the 65, and next week you call in the 365. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It just bothers me. And I tell my friends all the time, I got to get better at that aspect because I understand that's just how people are. That's just how people are. People want to get the best deal that they can get. And I understand that. And you should. And I think it's a lack of trust in the system. Everybody thinks that everybody's out to screw everybody. You think I'm trying to screw you? I think you're trying to screw me. There's no trust in the system. There's no trust amongst people. And that's why we have what we have. Just my opinion. And I'm sticking to it.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I think it's across industries. It's across. This is just a people problem. This is not something that's unique to the NFL, but it just hurts more in the NFL because you're putting your body on the line. So when you're Lamar Jackson and you spend 2 years getting disrespectful offers, and now the time finally comes. Oh well, we can't reach a deal, so we're going to let other teams find that deal for us. They're going to sign you to a contract, and hopefully you come back with us, and we can match it. And it just degrades the trust. And so I know you got to go soon. We'll get you out of here. I just want to ask: should the Detroit Lions, with the disrespect that Lamar Jackson has received from the Baltimore Ravens, should they consider putting together an offer sheet, giving up those 2 first-round picks, giving Lamar Jackson what we assume is a fully guaranteed contract for the duration of his career? Is that something Glover Quinn would be interested in?
Well, I mean, if you look at the Detroit Lions, I don't think that's the direction they want to go in. I think they're happy with Jared Goff. I think he fits their offensive style, and the pieces that they have around him. I think Lamar Jackson brings a certain caliber offense, certain caliber system to your team. And so if your team is already built around the quarterback, then no, I don't think you just go jump through the hoop for that. But if your team isn't really built around it, you feel like, this guy can come in and help us, then I think you go after it and you try to make it happen. I don't see the Detroit Lions doing that. But that doesn't mean that they can't. I think they're happy with Jared Goff. I think, like I said, I think he fits their offensive style, their offensive scheme, everything that they want to get done. But I do think that it's weird that you can have a talent like Lamar and they don't understand how, like, when you see things around the league, it makes players feel a certain type of way. When Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to fight to get a deal done, when this guy can get a deal done, when Deshaun Watson can come off what he's come off of and get a fully guaranteed deal, when you see these type of things and then you think about what you've done for this organization, what you've been able to do, the success you've been able to have, league MVP, like all these different things, but you're having a fight to get paid for. It's just something that just doesn't sit well with you. And that right there can ruin the relationship with the quarterback and the team faster than anything, to where now he's probably like, I don't want to be here because you guys don't value me as a person, as a player. You don't value me like that. So I would rather not be here. I would rather go somewhere with somebody that's willing to give up the 2 first round. And they may, because I don't really know how that stuff work, right? So if somebody offer him a deal and the Ravens have an opportunity to match it, if the Ravens match it, do he have to go back to the Ravens?
He
Or
either
do
get
he
he either gets to sign that contract with the Ravens or he plays on the franchise tag. So if the Ravens match, he's with the Ravens either way, unfortunately.
Okay. So that's what sucks.
Yeah.
He ain't really got no say so. Um, and that'll make it even worse. Honestly, that'll make it even worse. That'll make it even worse. It
And
won't be good.
it seeps into the locker room at other
Yeah.
positions because other guys, we already saw Rashad Bateman tweeting about the general manager as he's upset because Lamar's getting thrown under the bus. He's getting thrown under the bus. And he deleted the tweet because he regretted it. But you can see those cracks in the locker room. And that is not something that once those cracks start in the foundation, you can't just put some
Mm-mm.
stucco over it and fix it, right?
Mm-mm. It's there. It's there. So you have to just start making changes. So they're gonna have to get Bateman out of there. You're gonna have to get Jackson. You're just gonna start making change because it's just not good. And with those guys being offensive leaders, it's just not a good look. Lamar
Not
coming back to the Ravens will not be good,
no.
in my opinion. It
I
won't be good.
I completely agree with you here. It just something's off. It's the milk's gone sour. It's time to start fresh. Sounds like you don't think it's going to be with the Detroit Lions. A lot of Lions fans will have their heart broken by that. A lot of Lions fans will also be thrilled by that. Lamar Jackson, very controversial with the Detroit Lions fan base because people love Goff. People love the culture we're building here. As exciting as Lamar is, they don't want to risk the 2 first-round picks. But Glover, as always, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. I truly appreciate it. I learned so much about the combine, about free agency, about all this stuff. So, do you have any pluggables to plug before we get you out of here? Any final thoughts to wrap things up?
You know, um, I mean, this is it's a weird time. It's a lot going on. It's fun, but it's weird. And for players, this right here is a tough time because a lot of decisions are being made that's affecting family members, kids, um, a whole lot going on. Very high pressure decisions that are going to be made here in the next couple of weeks. Lives are going to be changing with the draft and all these different things. So I just want to encourage all the guys going through the combines and the pro days and all those different things, man, to just, just let go, let God, trust in him and trust in your work, trust in your process, man, and just put your best foot forward. And all the guys in free agency, go with your heart, man. Go with your heart. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. I know it's hard. I know it sucks sometimes, but you got to do what's best for you because the team is going to do what's best for them and every other player is going to do what's best for them. It's not nothing personal. It's just what you got to do. So, go with your heart. And fans, let's just support these guys, man. It's difficult. Let's just support these guys. And the decisions that they have to make coming up.
Trust the process, root for every single player that gets paid because every single player deserves every single penny and more that they're going to get. So just keep rooting for this beautiful game that we love. Keep rooting for the players in it that things will turn out for the best because they deserve it. And on that note, we will see you next time.